Hey everyone, welcome to the WorshipCast. My name is Franklin.
And I'm Matt, and today we're going to talk about how to practice effectively. All right, we are going to talk about how to practice better, or if you don't, how to practice at all, to be honest. It's an important thing, especially on a Sunday worship team. Though I know a lot of us play other things too. There's some worship bands maybe that aren't with a church and cool things, but you got to practice. As a musician, none of us can just. Some of us can just run up and play off the cuff, but that's not all of us.
No, that's really not what it's meant to be, anyways.
No. And if you can, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way you should do it either. Just because the key signatures and the scales, and you just run in to do it, you can miss out on some things.
You can.
You
can miss out on very important parts. It's like those lead lines that they specifically make for that break, which I think we talked about in a previous episode as well, about how during like elevations,
Here's in heaven,
things like that. It's very important.
Yeah, and that's there's a whole different conversation here. About sometimes it's better to make up your own parts and that kind of stuff. But if you're making up your own parts all the time because you don't know the other ones, that's a different. You're over here.
Yeah,
you need to be closer. So we want to talk about good practice habits, good things to do, while you're practicing, especially because this isn't like practicing for a rock gig or something where you learn the song, you learn what to sing, and you move on. There's more to this. So really, I would say that praise and worship guys practice can be a little bit harder, a little more involved than some of the other things out there.
Yeah, can be.
Yep. So Franklin, during practice, what's the big thing you do?
Biggest thing is, first thing I really start off with is going to be listening to the song. I have to learn my part, listen to my part. I'm like, okay, here's a piano. Oh, there's no piano here. Okay, here's a pad. Oh, there's no pad. Okay, what am I doing?
Learn when to shut up.
Yeah, pretty much. Learn where you're coming in. Learn specifically where every portion of where you're going to be playing should be. Okay, I got the lead portion here. Okay, or I've got the intro portion. Okay, I got to learn this specific melody here. It's very important.
I'd say even with that, road mapping the song too. As you're listening to it, get in your head what happens. All right, intro, verse, chorus. Does it do the intro again after that first chorus? Does it not?
Yeah.
Also little details. Let's say that after the first verse, they hold the 4 chord for 4 beats, and then the second time around, they don't hold it. It goes right in. Map out little things as you listen to it. Make yourself a flow chart.
Yep.
Here, write it down if you have to. It's huge.
It is very huge. It happens. It happens a lot. The worship music is like, they hold this long, but then they cut it short with this portion. It's like, yeah, I would never have known if I had not listened to the song before and learned it. Because, yeah.
Yep, and that can help with the actual band practice too, because it can happen real quick where the whole band can devolve into spending 15, 20 minutes deciding on how long to hold this part, and then somebody has to pull up the song on their phone, and then their phone dies, so somebody else has to pull it up, and next thing you know, you haven't been practicing for a half hour trying to figure out this one thing.
Yeah, and see that's the biggest thing there too. That's not that time with your people. That shouldn't be practice. That should be rehearsal. So when you're going in, you should be practicing at home. So okay, I learned this portion. This is where I learned my parts. So that's the next portion that I would go into. Sure, learn the song, listen to the song. But then next would be learn your parts. And then that way you're not wasting time when you're sitting around like, okay, crap, I don't know my part. Listen to it real quick. 30 seconds before 30 seconds before rehearsal.
Now, we know nobody's perfect. And I'm not even going to pretend that I'm 100% at that, because those of you that are watching that know us personally and play with us, you know that we can't always hold to that standard. And as musicians in church, a lot of us have regular jobs and families and kids, and we just play on weekends. I mean, we should still be practicing at home as much as we can for that rehearsal, but I mean, nobody's perfect either. So, it's something that all of us, even the two of us sitting here, can always improve on doing. Never stop growing in that aspect. So something that I like to do with songs when I can is not only am I listening to the songs, learning my parts, road mapping it, but a lot of times, even if I'm not singing it, I will try and learn the words and know the song inside and out so that I can sit and sing it. Because if you're familiar with it to the point where you can just sing it with nothing in front of you, you'll be quicker on the chord changes. You'll be quicker to worship along with the people singing, because you'll be able to sing with them from the stage, even if you're not singing a part on that song. Every once in a while you'll see going down the road, I'll be singing along with a Lauren Daigle tune because we're playing it Sunday, and that's a little bit outside of my vocal range, but I know the song. And that's huge, to be able to know them all in and out.
Yeah, that's very huge. That way, sure, you're worshiping with your instrument, and your instrument may be voice, and that's great too, but sure, you're going to learn your parts, but then you can actually know what you're singing. You know the words, or, are they biblical truths? Are they, okay. And then you can worship without even thinking. It's beautiful. It's when that time comes, you're just like, okay, you know your parts, the song, the lyrics, and you can worship. Thus, when you worship, the congregation can worship. So it's a beautiful picture. It's important. It's very important.
And that's the thing too, is if you're struggling with a song just because you don't know it and you're having to really think hard about it, you can't worship through that song. It's a totally different aspect, because you're worried about what's coming up next. You're thinking about this part. Or, do I remember this lick? Am I starting on the right fret? If you don't know it that well, it doesn't come across as worship. It comes across as you trying to fumble your way through a song, and
And we've all been there, though. Yes. So don't get us wrong. We're saying that we're perfect. We have fumbled. We didn't know our parts. I especially don't know some parts.
It's not for not knowing them. It's for at the time where it must be recalled.
Yes. It's like, okay, I got this portion. Okay, this song here. This is how this melody goes. This is how
they all sound a little alike. Yeah, we'll get to that though in a future episode. I'm gonna roll him under the bus for that. So stick around for next week. That's gonna be a good one too. But the entire purpose of even playing in the church, and this is what we talked about, is for that corporate worship, because that's how it's been modeled out for us. And so if you can't worship with the audience because you're struggling with knowing the song, that's a problem. You got to get there. And I would challenge this during the week. Whatever songs you're picked, or if you're picking the songs, most of the songs we sing are pulled directly from Scripture, or they should be. That being the case, I would challenge you as a praise and worship musician to seek out those verses in the Bible and read them, and read the context around them, and get a full picture of the song and everything that's happening in it. And you want to talk about increasing your worship on stage. If you truly understand what you're singing about and everything that goes along with it, that pours out that much more. And that makes your at-home practice also worship.
Yep.
Because I don't know about you, and I'm sure you're this way, I worship best a lot of times through music, just because, I've got this musical bug in me. And a lot of times when I connect with God the most is through song, through music, through singing. So, being able to do that with the songs that we're singing is like, oh, that's where the sweet spot's at.
Yep. And the thing is that your practice time can be your worship time as well. It's
not can be, it should be.
Oh, it should be. Yes, it should be. It's very important. It's just, that time you're setting apart specifically to learn your parts, learn these songs. And in those moments, sure, you're messing up here and there, but you're perfecting your craft. You're perfecting that specific part for that song that you're going to be playing and leading your congregation.
Yeah.
It's just, oh.
So let's talk about some ways that let's get into some of the nitty gritty about, how we actually practice, like how we learn songs and when I'm listening to them. Yeah. Do you pull up chord sheets? Do you try and pull up tabs from somewhere online? Do you try and do it by ear? What's kind of your go-to for that? Because I actually don't know.
Yeah. A lot of time I actually just listen by ear most of the time. I'm like, okay. I listen to the key. I'm like, okay, I got this key. This is where they're at. Okay, I'll find the key. And then even if it doesn't specifically have a piano part, I specifically, put in my own little piece here and there. I'm like, okay, typically it's a, 1, 4, 5, 6, or, the variation. It's just,
those numbers just
variations. Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, oh, okay, sure. Or maybe 1, 4, 6, 5, 1, things like that. It's just
random 2 if you're Tomlin, put in a minor 3.
Yeah. So it's just that's kind of how I practice, and I learn those songs. And sure, having the chords in front of me helps. Definitely helps faster by learning the specific chords. But for the most part, as long as I listen to it, I'm like, okay, listen to the lead line. I'm like, okay, this is the lead line here. For if there's a piano portion, I'm like, okay, this is this. Okay, I got that. And then just kind of continue practicing over and over, and eventually it just comes. And because I've done it for so many years, it's natural now. It's something that I know how to do. It didn't come from day one. Like, oh, I'm gonna learn how to play piano and I'm just gonna do it. No,
he's lying. That's what happened.
No. It takes time. It's a lot of time. So that's me. That's my personal practice. What about you, Matt?
Well, I think an important point before I get into the goofy way I do things is that not only is practice your worship time and you learn the songs, but practice in general should make you a better musician and should make you grow. Yeah. So, like I said, having a chord sheet in front of you helps. And a lot of times you should. But I challenge you as a musician to learn your scales and your key signatures and stuff enough so that you don't have to have that. You can figure it out as you go, because that will push you to be able to do some things on the fly that may need to happen. We talk about singers needing to change the key on the fly. You need to be able to be there.
Yep.
So do some things in your practice that scares you a little, because it's got to push you as a musician too.
Yeah, learning key signatures, learning Nashville numbering system.
Oh yeah,
that is the best thing I've ever had to learn. I mean, as long as you know your key signatures, you should know automatically your in a sense. You should know. For the most part, you should know your Nashville number system. But practice those habits. Practice those church musical theory, but it will make you a better musician, a better worshiper, because you're able to utilize those, indefinitely over and over again for the next time you learn new songs. You're like, oh, okay, we're changing, D to A. Okay, boom, boom. Okay, we have 1, 4, 5, 6. Okay, boom, you just got that. Yeah, that's it.
And that's the thing, is that a lot of that freedom in worship comes from if something does change. If the Spirit hits and now you're stretching a song out and some things happen, to be able to have practiced enough in theory and that kind of stuff where you can just make that happen. there's a lot of freedom of worship in that too, and but there's a fine line between practice and then not practicing, but knowing enough to just do it, and so there's harmony here.
Yes.
But generally, how I practice a song is kind of the same thing. Once I find the key and I have it in my head, generally, I can pick the chords out. As far as lead lines and stuff go, they're all pentatonic. 95% of the time pentatonic or major scale. Unless we're getting weird. Sometimes we get weird. Yeah. We can throw a harmonic minor scale in or, some fun stuff. So generally, using the scales, I'll find the lead line. As long as I know all the lead parts and all the chords, generally you can play the song. But then there's another aspect of it. I try to think about the fact that we've got 2 guitarists and a keyboard. And I feel like as a musician in practice, it's important is to think about, instead of just chords, what are you going to play so that you're not in the way of the other musicians? And so, once I know it, I try and find either, during a verse, if the other guitarist is going to be playing big chords, maybe I can play a small lick that I can make up. Maybe I can play inversions in another place. Maybe you can kind of do both at the same time. That's kind of a normal thing too. Yeah. So I will try and after the song's learned, think of what I can do to get out of everybody else's way, and still play the song. And so that's where some of the improv and stuff kind of comes in. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there of people playing their idea of a cover for a song. And so sometimes I go watch 5 or 6 of those just to hear what people are doing and kind of get things going. Not to go out and copy other musicians, but some of the best people you can learn from are other musicians. And so that's just my way of not only practicing the song, but trying to add to the overall sound. So I'm not anybody else's way. So I'll try to think outside the box. Do you, when you practice, do you try and also practice with the actual tones and things you're going to be using? If it's applicable.
If it's applicable, yes. Yeah. If it's applicable. Sometimes, at church, while we're rehearsing, sometimes I only have a piano. So I'm like, okay, I only have the piano sound.
With a speaker that crackles really bad.
Yes.
I played through a Black Star Fly in the practice room.
So I only have, a piano sound. I have some other sounds here and there, but they're not the greatest. And occasionally I'll bring my laptop and I'll hook it up at MIDI, but I've had some issues with that. So most of the time I am actually just playing piano, but it's still learning your part, learning your, okay, this is this, movement here, muscle memory here. This is how this song goes. But yeah,
I'm kind of the same way on that. A lot of times, when I get time to practice, it's just on an acoustic. I don't have all my stuff. A lot of my pedals are set, kind of already dialed in to where I need them. My presets are already there. But I would argue that that's not always the best way to do it. I would say a lot of times, and that's just because we're busy guys, and some of you guys are busy too. But if you can practice with the actual tones and sounds you're going to be using on Sunday, because that's where some of the tweaks and ideas and stuff come in. Yeah. So if you follow the steps, let's go back and try and recount them. Read the Bible verses around them. Learn them inside and out. Roadmap them for yourself, and be able to sing them. Learn your chords and parts, and then be able to do your own thing inside the band, kind of learn how to play and make sure everybody's got their part. If you can do those things and then have good rehearsals, you open a good place. Yeah,
it'd be really good. It's opens so many doors, allows you to open up as a worship musician, as a musician in general. If you're here watching, listening, and aren't a Christian per se, that's okay. But
a lot of these tips will really they help everybody, except for if you're playing secular music, it's gonna be hard to read a Bible verse about those, probably.
yeah, probably.
Maybe. But the rest of them are great practice tips anyway.
Yes.
And we're here to help in general. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. Hope maybe we can we've helped to change your practice routine, or maybe even just encourage you to you know what, I am going to do this more. And if that's all that happens, then that's great for you.
Oh yes,
glad we could help out. Thank you for watching. Check us out: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, whichever thing you want to watch on. All the podcasting sites have us now in audio format. Yeah.
Yep.
So go check those out. Like, comment, subscribe. And we'll talk to you guys next time after you've practiced up.